You're listening to episode 758 of the Father Bills Podcast. Welcome back. This week's episode is entitled, Forgive from Our Hearts, given on the 24th Sunday in Ordinary Time, 2020. This week we've all experienced in some degree or another the tragedies of the fires that have happened in Talent and Phoenix. In fact, the fact that authorities believe it to be arson is a reason that can make many angry. It makes me very angry. I had some very critical and negative thoughts about how I should deliver justice in this case. The word vengeance might even apply. And then I read this weekend's scriptures, and I had to have a reordering of my thinking. Why? Simply because the scriptures in the book of Sirach, which we just heard, said this: wrath and anger are hateful things, yet the sinner hugs them tight. The vengeful will suffer the Lord's vengeance, for he remembers their sins in detail. And then, just to complete the thought, we heard again, forgive your neighbor's injustice. Then when you pray, your own sins will be forgiven. And the question is, but how when this sin is so great? How can one forgive when someone has been wronged to such an extent? This is where Jesus in the Gospel of Matthew really challenged me. Remember Peter's question? Lord, if my brother sins against me, how often must I forgive him? As many as 7 times? Jesus answered, I say to you, not 7 times, but 77 times. This phrase was Jesus' way of telling Peter and those listening that there should be no conditions on forgiveness. This is so difficult, especially when someone's actions are so harmful or so evil. We know that God will judge each of us for what we do in this world. True enough. At the same time, we know that the Lord, as we hear in the psalm, the Lord is kind and merciful, slow to anger, and rich in compassion. Well beyond our abilities, I think. Or at least I'll speak for myself. There's some things I have not yet been able to do. What I must realize is God's judgment is perfect. Mine is not. His mercy is perfect. But his mercy also includes the calculus of how much we forgive others. So it's not just a blank slate with a Pollyannish saccharine approach. We heard some tough words today. Divine judgment will be made upon me in the measure of how much I forgive my brother from my heart. So, how do we deal with this? Might I offer that we just let God deal with this and not take it on ourselves? Let us allow Jesus Christ's mercy to flow over us so that we may forgive from our hearts. I don't know how my heart is capable of this, but I believe with divine grace, all things are possible. So let us pray for supernatural grace and mercy for all those whose homes and lives were destroyed this last week. They will need this divine gift, likely more than any of us who didn't lose their homes, lest they find themselves locked in the enslavement and permanence of anger and resentment and revenge. They have more excuse to be there than I do. So may the darkness which is beset upon us be overcome by the light of God's mercy and grace, and enable us to forgive from our hearts.
Thank you again for listening to this episode of the Father Bill's podcast. If you have any comments or questions, you can always go to my website, fatherbill.org, FRBILL.org, and there you can see what's going on with my social media, like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Mostly I do things on Facebook, though, as far as the social media angle of things are. But I'll do my best to get back to you and answer your question or see what's up. In the meantime, may God bless you and be safe. Bye-bye.